Absolutely. Here's section 1 of your story, with a minimum of 700 words, titled hashtag section 1, the empty seat. The grand hall of concordance gleamed like a star suspended in space. A gravity-locked structure orbiting Zelvaris Prime, it served as the epicenter of interstellar diplomacy, the stage upon which empires rose, treaties were etched in starlight, and wars were prevented with a single look across the circular chamber. Species from across the spiral arms convened beneath the crystalline dome, their emissaries seated according to ancient accords, ranked by age, power, and contribution to the Great Galactic Council. Every throne bore its signature. Woven clouds from the Sylphari, molten metal for the Dracanth, biomechanical fungus for the Zel. Some pulsated with living energy. Others shimmered with hard-light avatars. All were filled, except one. At the edge of the circle, positioned by right rather than courtesy, stood an obsidian seat. Sleek, undecorated, and silent. Its surface absorbed light, and no name or sigil marked it. It was as though it existed purely to remind the galaxy of an absence. Nalexa Vire, archivist and rising diplomatic attaché of the Visari Union, couldn't take her eyes off it. "Whose seat is that?" she whispered, leaning toward the elder beside her. Sovok Thren, a multi-eyed sage of the Velkari hegemony, blinked slowly, one eyelid at a time, like a meditative wave rolling across a calm ocean. "That seat," he said, "is Earth's." Nalexa furrowed her brow. "But Earth is uninhabited, isn't it?" "That is the official record," Sovok replied, his voice low, rippling with unspoken meaning. "But it is not the whole truth." Her eyes widened. "I've read every council record I could access. Earth is marked as a failed contact world. Initial probes found primitive signs of life, then nothing. No atmosphere. No activity. Just static." Sovok's mandibles clicked softly in amusement. And yet, they were offered a seat at this table. Nalexa stared at the empty throne again. "Offered millennia ago," he continued, "when the council was still young and hopeful, explorers discovered traces of humanity. Artifacts scattered across ruined moons, stories engraved in quantum threads, equations left behind like breadcrumbs. But no humans. They vanished. They transcended," Sovok said, almost reverently. Nalexa's data slate flickered as she discreetly pulled records, but nothing came up. The official entries on Earth were scrubbed, classified, or erased. "Why hasn't anyone gone back?" Sovok leaned closer. "Many have. None returned." That made her freeze. "There were expeditions," he said softly, "from the Tharn Syndicate, the Okari Guild, even the militant Scar Dominion. Each sought to claim Earth, or uncover its secrets. Entire fleets disappeared. No debris. No distress beacons. Only silence." Nalexa's gaze drifted to the seat again. It seemed darker than it should have been, as if its presence folded space around it. "Some say they never left Earth," Sovok added. "Others believe they were unmade." Nalexa whispered, "Unmade by what?" The elder turned his eyes toward the vast chamber, toward the nervous glances of other delegates who also avoided looking at the throne. "By them. By the humans. Whatever they became." A hush fell over the grand hall as the Speaker of Stars, a being composed entirely of gravitational ripples, announced the anniversary of the Accord's founding. Lights dimmed. A holographic constellation bloomed overhead, depicting the known galaxy as a spiral of interconnected species. Nalexa barely noticed. She couldn't stop thinking about Earth. She couldn't stop thinking about what Sovok had said. When the celebration ended and the council members began to filter out, she approached the throne. Her footsteps slowed as she drew near. It felt like the very air resisted her presence, as if the space around the seat did not want to be disturbed. It was smooth, untouched. It bore no dust, nowhere from time. She reached a hand toward it. "Do not," Sovok said sharply from behind her. She paused. "Why?" He hesitated, then quietly said, "Because one species tried to sit in that seat once, centuries ago. The Alari Empire. They saw the vacancy as a sign of weakness. thought to absorb Earth's legacy into their own. What happened? He exhaled, his chest fractaling outward before contracting. Their empire collapsed overnight. Not in war. Not in rebellion. Just gone. Cities empty. Technology dead. Their sun flickered once and dimmed. And no one knows how. Nalexa turned fully to him. And you think humans did that? I think, he said slowly, that they left a warning. And that throne is not a chair, it is a test. She looked at the seat one last time. It didn't hum with power. It didn't threaten her. It simply was. Silent. Watchful. Empty. Let me know when you're ready for Section 2. Forbidden Orbit, and I'll continue the story. Absolutely. Here's Section 2. Forbidden Orbit, continuing from where we left off, and hitting the minimum 700 words as requested. Hashtag Section 2. Forbidden Orbit. Stars shifted unnaturally as the Tesseran gale pierced the outer limits of Sol. The sleek Thessari science vessel had been modified with stealth plating and cloaked dimensional shielding, cutting-edge tech for a mission no government would dare authorize. It wasn't just illegal. It was suicide. Captain Joro Kale stood on the bridge, arms folded, his four-fingered hand drumming against the console. We shouldn't be here. Nalexa didn't look up from her station. Then why did you come? Joro snorted, teeth flashing in the soft light. Because I owe you. And because curiosity's a terminal disease. Glad we're terminal together, she muttered. The crew of the Tesseran Gale was small, just 6. A skeleton team trained for high-risk exploratory missions. Each had signed a quiet oath. No data leaks. No council debriefs. If they died, their ship would be recorded as lost in dark space. And if they lived, well, Nalexa intended to rewrite the galactic record. They had crossed into the Sol system 6 hours ago. Already, nothing made sense. Our chronometers are misaligned, said Tyron, the ship's AI analyst, a voice flickering from the ceiling. Relative time drift. 36 seconds over the last hour. Spatial compression appears localized. Localized where? Nalexa asked. Everywhere. That shouldn't have been possible. Unless. She looked at the main viewport. Earth still refused to be seen. Through every wavelength, infrared, ultraviolet, neutrino sensors, dark matter imaging, Earth registered as static. Blurred. Wrong. A smudge of light and gravity that mocked the laws of physics. Even with naked eyes, there was a strange shimmer in the space where the blue planet should have been. Then they saw it. Derelicts. Thousands of them. Like shattered bones of a forgotten armada, drifting in solemn orbit around Saturn. Hulks from every age, some ancient beyond reckoning, some still bearing the insignia of now-dead empires. A cruiser bearing the sharp triangular hulls of a scar. A Ilari dreadnought cracked in half. Drifting escape pods. No power. No signs of life. A necropolis of ambition. Oh stars, whispered Diva, the ship's xenolinguist, her voice barely audible. They really did try to take Earth. Nalexa ordered the ship to hold position. Jaro obeyed, but his body was tense, every instinct shouting at him to run. He'd been in military command during the Car rebellions. He'd seen singularities opened by quantum saboteurs. But this was the graveyard of gods. The ship's lights flickered. Energy dip across all systems, Tyron said. External cause unknown. Gravitic interference increasing. Shields to max, Jaro snapped. Then came the signal. A burst of data so fast, so dense, their AI nearly melted. Tyron rebooted mid-sentence, sparks arcing along the central processor. The message was a single word, repeated in ancient galactic, encoded in subquantum patterns, and echoed in a dozen long-extinct tongues. Observe. The crew stared in stunned silence. Nalexa spoke first. It's a command. No, Jaro said grimly. It's an invitation. They moved closer, inching toward Earth's gravity well. As they neared the invisible threshold, their ship trembled. Not from resistance, but revelation. Visual contact, Tyron said, reinitializing its core. I see it now. The shimmer peeled away like mist. Earth revealed itself beneath, majestic and unchanged. Oceans glittered, storm systems churned, lights blinked across the continents, not artificial, but structured. Patterns in the clouds. Geometric lightning. A language too vast to decode. Floating in the upper stratosphere, they discovered it. A construct the size of a continent, levitating just above the Pacific, cloaked until now. Smooth obsidian plating, fractured by glowing veins of light. Symbols danced across its surface, too complex for their systems to translate. It defied origin. It defied time. "This isn't natural," Jaro whispered. "No," Nalexa said. "It's an interface." The ship locked on to a docking port that wasn't there a moment ago. A voice, not sound, but thought entered their minds. "You have come. Few do. Fewer return. Asterisk, asterisk." Everyone looked at each other. Joro's hand hovered over the abort command. "We leave now, Nalexa. We've seen enough." But Nalexa was already out of her seat, headed to the airlock. "I didn't come this far to turn back." The crew followed her, despite everything. As they stepped through the pressure seal and onto the surface of the construct, they were struck by silence. Not just absence of sound. Asterisk, a void star. No heartbeat, no breath, no inner monologue. It was as if the structure suppressed thought itself, filtering everything into calm awareness. A figure awaited them. Humanoid. Tall. Silver skin. Eyes like stars dying and being born in real time. Not a being of flesh, but of logic. Memory. Design. It smiled. "Welcome," it said. "I am the curator." "Of what?" Nalexa asked, her voice barely hers. The figure looked past them. Past the stars. Past the future. Of Earth's legacy. "Let me know when you're ready for Section 3. Humanity awaits, and I'll keep going." "Absolutely. Here's Section 3. Humanity awaits, meeting your 700-word minimum and continuing the story." Hashtag Section 3. Humanity awaits. The surface of the construct was unlike anything they had ever encountered. Material that wasn't metal, stone, or synthetic composite. It shifted subtly beneath their feet, as if acknowledging each step, reacting to their presence. The walls breathed, faintly pulsing in patterns that reminded Nalexa of neural scans, like they were walking through the synapses of something alive. The curator led them in silence, moving with an unnatural grace. Every corridor opened ahead of it without prompting, and each room they passed was filled with incomprehensible architecture, some too vast to exist in Euclidean space, others too small yet infinitely detailed, fractal in their complexity. The space seemed to bend around them, defying mass, time, and gravity. "Where are we?" Joro finally asked, glancing warily at the shifting walls. "You are within the archive," the curator replied. "This is where Earth keeps its memory." Nalexa stared. "Why? Why leave this here? Why not rejoin the galaxy?" The curator turned to face them, its eyes now flickering like twin pulsars. "Humanity offered unity once. The galaxy offered fear in return." It gestured, and the wall behind it dissolved into an expanse of light. A projection formed, galactic maps, records, histories that had been buried, redacted, or erased. They saw them humans. Not the primitive bipedals that had once roamed Terra, but post-biological beings of light and form, energy woven with consciousness. They had reached the edge of understanding and pushed through it. Earth had become the cradle of ascendance. And the galaxy had panicked. Joro cursed under his breath as images played of early contact attempts. Envoys burned in atmosphere, fleets drawn into impossible orbits, drones scrambled into entropy. But the aggression hadn't come from Earth. It had come to Earth. "They tried to contain us," the curator said softly, "before they understood us." "Who did?" Diva asked, voice trembling. "All of them," the curator said. "The council, the syndicates, the hegemonies. They feared what they did not yet comprehend. So they conspired to erase us." "But you're still here," Nalexa said, awe softening her voice. "Earth is still here." "Yes," the curator said. We remained, watching, choosing silence. Nalexis stepped closer.
What are you now? Gods.
No, it replied. We are what you may one day become if you survive yourselves. A long pause settled over them, not from fear, but reverence. What happened to the civilizations that tried to claim Earth? Joro asked finally. They were rewritten, the curator said. Not destroyed, not punished, but shown a mirror of themselves. Most could not bear the reflection. They collapsed, imploded. Some were integrated into the archive. Others fled. None returned. Nalex's brow furrowed. Why not destroy them? We did not seek vengeance. We sought understanding. But the galaxy does not understand silence. It fears absence. Why keep the council seat empty? She asked. The curator walked forward, and a circular platform lifted them above the archive. Below them stretched a city of impossible scale, silent towers, hovering gardens, entire ecosystems flourishing in stasis. To remind the galaxy that we still care, it said. That we are not gone. Only patient. Joro crossed his arms. You're saying you could have conquered the galaxy, and chose not to? We did conquer, the curator said calmly. But not with weapons. With presence. Every species that touched us was changed. Every attempt to define us failed. So, we let the galaxy define itself. Nalexa looked around at the splendor. You left. But you're still here. So, what do you want from us now? The curator tilted its head. Nothing. That surprised her. Nothing. You came. Few do. Fewer survive. Fewer still return unchanged. That is enough. But we are changed, she whispered. The curator stepped aside, revealing a chamber filled with mirrors, not reflections of their bodies, but of moments, childhood memories, personal truths, secret regrets, private dreams. One showed Nalexa holding a burning book as a child, rebelling against a society that censored history. Another showed Joro weeping in an escape pod, having lost his entire fleet in a war he no longer remembered the cause of. The curator looked into Nalexa's eyes. You sought truth. Now carry it back. To the council? She asked. To the galaxy. And if they don't listen? Its voice dropped to a whisper. Then they will learn. As all do. In time. Nalexa nodded. There was nothing more to say. Earth had not hidden in fear, but in hope. Waiting for the galaxy to outgrow its paranoia. To reach forward instead of lashing out. As the crew boarded their ship again, Earth faded behind them. Not from sight, but from understanding. Already, the systems began to lose data. Coordinates scrambled. Visuals corrupted. Just like all the others. But something stayed with them. A light. A weight. A seed. As they exited the Sol system, the stars shimmered differently. Earth had seen them, and was watching. Ready for Section 4. Return of the Humans? Let me know, and I'll finish this epic out. Of course. Here's Section 4, Return of the Humans, completing the story and hitting the 700-word minimum as requested. #, Section 4, Return of the Humans. The Grand Hall of Concordance was unusually silent. Not solemn. Not respectful. Silent, as if the entire chamber held its breath. Delegates fidgeted in their seats. Ancient species, some who had ruled for thousands of years, now looked uneasy under the crystalline dome. All eyes drifted, inevitably, to the obsidian throne. It was no longer empty. Nalexa stood beside it, tall and calm, the emissary robes of the Thessari Union heavy on her shoulders. Her crew, reduced now to 4, stood behind her like silent sentinels. The Tesseran Gale had returned from Sol bearing knowledge the Council never expected to surface again. But what terrified them was not what she brought, it was who followed. From the corridor behind the throne, they entered. Not an army, not a fleet, just one. A being of light and will, clothed in a body that shimmered between form and energy, between memory and presence. It walked like it belonged in that chamber, as if it had never truly left. The air bent gently around it. Words refused to form around its presence. The human. No one spoke as it approached the throne. Some delegates reached for defense mechanisms, subdermal force fields, emergency phase gates, but none dared act. The being turned to look at them, its gaze not hostile, but eternal. Nalexa took a breath and stepped forward. For millennia, the seat of Earth remained empty, a symbol of mystery, a warning, perhaps, but also a hope. Whispers spread, quickly silenced as she raised her voice. I went to Seoul. I saw the archive. I stood on Earth. And I returned. She let that settle. You feared humanity because you did not understand it. You erased them from records. You warned explorers away. And you built legends of annihilation to protect yourselves from the truth. The speaker of stars stirred, its gravitational pulses shifting into speech. And what is the truth, Thesari? Nalexa turned, meeting the gaze of a being older than most stars. That they never left. That they chose peace while we chose fear. That they waited for us to be ready. A murmur rippled through the chamber. Nalexa gestured to the being behind her. They are not conquerors. They are not saviors. They are witnesses. And now they choose to return. The Cloran delegate, a crystalline hive being, leaned forward. Return in peace. The human emissary nodded once. A simple gesture, but the room shuddered. Reality warped for a breathless second, and across the galaxy, trillions of beings felt something shift. It was as if the stars themselves exhaled. The speaker of stars pulsed. They will reclaim the seat. They will share it, Nalexa corrected. With us. With all who are willing to learn. Earth has seen what we can be, and they believe we still have potential. A silence followed. Not fearful now, but stunned. The Velkari archivist Sovok Thren, once skeptical, now rose to speak. And what of the vanished expeditions? The lost empires? The human turned its gaze to him. We showed them themselves, it said, the voice a cascade of harmonics and warmth. They broke under the weight of their reflection. You do not need war to end a civilization. You only need truth. Joro Kale stepped forward. He hadn't spoken since they left Earth. I led fleets into death. I believed in control. But I stood before the archive, and I saw a history deeper than time. We were children then. All of us. Humanity chose not to punish us for that. The Scar Dominion's delegate growled. Then what do they want? The human paused. To help you grow. Laughter, bitter, incredulous, rippled from the Scar. But it died as the lights dimmed. Above them, a new constellation appeared. Not projected, not artificial. Real. A shift in the galactic sky. A pattern of stars reformed into a symbol, one known across hundreds of cultures. A spiral. The oldest symbol for home. The human gestured once, and a data stream bloomed across the hall. Not weapons. Not demands. Knowledge. Medicine. Energy systems. Ecological blueprints. New methods of communication. A gift freely given. Humanity does not want to rule, Nalexa said. They want to uplift. The old fears melted slowly from the room. Not all at once. But the silence now was different. Curious, not cautious. Hopeful. The speaker of stars floated forward, slowly lowering its gravitic mass beside the obsidian throne. Earth may sit once more among us if it so chooses. The human turned, looked to Nalexa, and nodded. Together, they approached the seat. But instead of sitting, the human placed a hand upon it. The throne changed, split into two. One of black, the other of light. Dual symbols. Shared space. The galaxy watched in awe. For the first time in recorded memory, the Council of Concordance adjusted its seating. Asterisk, not asterisk for power, but for welcome. Nalexa smiled. They had not found humanity. Humanity had found them again. And this time they were ready to listen. The end. Let me know if you'd like to expand this into a full novella, or if you want cover art, a blurb, or even to format it like a book or audiobook script.